So welcome to A2U5L7. This is synthetic division. And we're going to look at some problems that are like what we did in the last section. And this method is going to be a whole lot easier. So why do the long division? Well, this method is very limited. It only works when you have a divisor of the format x minus r, where r is a number. Now what does all that mean? Well, first of all, you can only have a coefficient of 1 in front of your x. So that is the most limiting thing. Then having to have the minus sign, we can work around that, because if you see here, I don't have x minus a number, I have x plus a number. Well, we've done that before. We can manipulate that to be x minus -8. So now my r in this problem is -8. So if you want to think of it this way, when you're doing synthetic division, for your divisor number, you're going to use the opposite of what's in the problem. Now, how to do it? It's really very simple. You take your divisor, and we said it's going to be -8. Now this time for synthetic, you draw the house upside down. Then you're just going to put the coefficients of your dividend up here. So I have so I have 1 and 3 and -43. Okay. Now this is the process. You take your first number and you drop it down here, and this starts the ball rolling. And you're going to keep doing the same motion over and over. All right, you're going to multiply this number. 1 times -8 gives you -8, and that goes here. And then you're going to add down. Now in polynomial long division, we subtracted, and this is where I always make careless mistakes. I forget to add instead of subtract. So 3 plus -8 is -5. Do it again. -5 times -8 is +40. And then we're going to add. So we get -3. Okay? So we have 1, -5, -3. That's what we're going to use to get our answer now. Go to your original dividend, and we're going to look for the highest exponent, the leading exponent, which was 2, and we're going to back it up 1, which would just be x, right? This is going to be the coefficient, so I don't have to put the 1, I don't have to put the 1 exponent. 1 refers to just x. Then -5 would be my constant term. You're going to decrease just like we did in polynomial long division. So here is my remainder. It's going to be -3 over, go back to your original, and that is all there is to polynomial long division. So I know that went really quick. Let's get another problem, and I promise if you just hang with me for a few problems, it will all start to make sense. Okay, let's look at number 2. The first thing I always check is to make sure that I don't have any missing powers, and I don't, and to see what I'm going to do here. Now, since I have minus, I'm just taking the number. So it's going to be 7, the upside down division thing, and then let's just take the coefficients, 2, -16, and 19. Okay? Drop that one down and start the ball rolling. 2 times 7 is 14, and add. -16 plus 14 is -2. Multiply gives you -14, and then add. 19 plus -14 is 5. Okay? Now let's convert. Go to your highest exponent and back it up 1. So this is just going to be 2n. All right, then -2. So this means 5 is my remainder, so it's going to be 5 over n minus 7. Okay, here's number 3. So I see I have no missing powers, and I have a minus sign already. So let's get it set up. It's going to be a +2, upside down division sign. All right, coefficient here is 1. Coefficient is 5. Coefficient is -7. And constant is 2. Okay. Now we're going to drop the 1 down, and let's start the flow going. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to add and get 7. 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to add. -7 plus 14 is +7. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Okay. Now to convert, go up here and get your exponent. See what your exponent is, and we're going to back it up 1. So I'm going to start with y squared, and this would be my coefficient, but I don't have to put the 1. All right, and then just decrease. So from y squared to y, from y to just a constant, from the constant to your remainder, which is 16 over y minus 2. Okay, for number 4, I'm going to start. I check that I have no missing exponents, and I don't. And then I see that I have a plus sign here. So when I set my problem up, it's going to be -4. Okay, upside down division sign. All right, let's get all the coefficients. This one is +1. This is 9. This is 13. This is -33. And this is -16. Okay, take the first one and drop it down. Now start the ball rolling. 1 times -4 is -4, and add gives you 5. 5 times -4 is -20, and add gives you -7. -7 times -4 is +28, and add gives you -5. -5 times -4 is +20, and add gives you +4. Okay, let's convert. Look for your highest exponent, and I'm going to back it down 1, and this is my coefficient, so it's just going to be c to the 3rd power, plus, and then I'm just going to stair-step it down, 5c to the 2nd, minus 7c, minus 5 is my constant, so that means that 4 is my remainder, and that goes over my divisor, c plus 4. Okay, for number 5, I look, and this time I am missing a power. I do not have a k to the 2nd term, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put my placeholder, just like we did in long division. You just put a 0k to the 2nd. Remember, the minus sign belongs to the 17, so it stays with it. And then 32 divided by k plus 5. Now we're ready. Since this is plus, we're going to have -5. Now let's get all our coefficients. I have 1, I have a 0, a -17, and a 32. Okay? So drop this one down and then start the ball rolling. 1 times -5 is -5, and add. -5 times -5 is +25, and add, that'll be +8. 8 times -5 is -40, and add, that's going to be -8. Okay? Now, find your highest exponent. Your leading exponent is 3. This becomes your coefficient, and you're going to back down on the exponent 1. So now I have x squared minus 5x plus 8, and here's my remainder, minus 8 over k plus 5. Okay, let's have a look at number 6, and I see 4, 3, I'm missing an x squared term. So I'm just going to write 0x squared under here so I don't have to recopy the whole thing. All right, we do have a -8 here, so down here I'm just going to use a +8. Remember, you're actually using the opposite of what it looks like in the original. So now for my coefficients, I have a +8, I have a -64. All right, this is where my 0 comes in. Then I have a +3 and a -28. Okay, this drops down, and let's go. 8 times 8 is 64, and you add, gives you 0. 0 times 8 is 0, and you add, gives you 0. 0 times 8 is 0, and you add, gives you 3. 3 times 8 is 24, and you add, gives you -4. Wasn't that easy? All right, so now go to your highest exponent, and let's back it down. This is my coefficient, so I'm going to start off with 8x to the 3rd. Now, I have 0x squared and 0x, so I can skip those. Then I have +3 minus 4, this is your remainder, over x minus 8. Okay, on the next 3, they want us to do each problem using long division and synthetic division. So it's going to be a good opportunity for us to compare. Plus, it's a very good mental exercise because it really keeps you on your toes. All right, look for, there's no missing terms and there's no restrictions on the divisor for long division. So we're just going to do n plus 1 up here. And then we're going to copy this polynomial n to the third minus 3n to the second minus 11n minus 3. Okay? So what would I multiply n by to get n to the third? Well, that's n to the second. N to the second times n is n to the third. N to the second times 1 is n to the second. Okay? And we are subtracting. These two subtract out. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4n to the second. Drop that 11 down. Okay? Now, what would I multiply n by to get negative 4? Well, that's going to be negative 4n. Negative 4 times n is negative 4n squared. And negative 4 times 1 is negative 4n. Remember, we are subtracting. These two subtract out. All right, 11 minus negative 4, this changes to plus a positive. So that's going to give me negative 7n, and I bring down the minus 3. Okay. Now, what would I multiply n by to get negative 7n? Well, that's minus 7. Minus 7 times n is minus 7n. Minus 7 times 1 is minus 7. Now, I'm subtracting. These two cancel out. Once again, minus a negative means plus a positive. So negative 3 plus 7 is 4. All right, and that's going to be my remainder. So I can just put it up here over my divisor and say, here's my answer. Okay, now for synthetic. So first of all, since this is a plus 1 in synthetic, I'm going to use negative 1. Okay. Now my coefficients here, I've got 1, I've got negative 3, I've got negative 11, and I've got negative 3. Okay, all you need is the coefficient. So I'm going to drop the first one down. All right, 1 times 1 is negative 1, and then you add, so you get negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and then you add, so you get negative 7. Negative 7 times negative 1 is positive 7, and then you add, so that's going to give you positive 4. Now to convert, look at your highest exponent and go back 1. So we're going to start with, this is the coefficient of n squared, and then just work your way down. So that means this is 4n, so 7 is your constant term, and this is your remainder, 4 over n plus 1. Okay, so let's compare, and you see we got the same answers. This had a whole lot more work though. Okay, on number 8, same thing. We're going to do polynomial long division and then synthetic division. So I see that I'm not missing any terms and I have no restrictions on my divisor for long division. So I'm just going to start off with k plus 8, and then I'm going to have 2k to the 4th plus 10k to the 3rd minus 40k squared plus 61k minus 24. Okay, so let me just be on my toes. All right, I'm going to ask myself, how many times would k go into 2k to the 4th? And that's going to be 2k cubed, and it goes over the cubed section term. Okay, now I'm going to multiply. 2k to the 3rd times k is 2k to the 4th. And 2k to the 3rd times 8 is positive 16k to the 3rd. And now remember, for long division, we're subtracting. These subtract out. 10 minus 16 is going to give me negative 6k to the 3rd, and then bring down that minus 40k squared. Okay, so how many times will k go into negative 6k cubed? Well, negative 6k squared times. Multiply is going to give you negative 6k to the 3rd, and negative 48k squared. And I am subtracting. These subtract out. Negative 40, this makes plus a positive, So that's going to give me 8k squared plus 61k. I just dropped that down. All right. How many times will k go into 8k squared? Well, positive 8k times. 8k times k is 8k to the second. 8k times 8 is 64k. And we are subtracting. These subtract out. 61 minus 64 is negative 3k. And I bring down that minus 24. Okay? What would I multiply k by to get negative 3k? Negative 3. So negative 3 times k is negative 3k. And negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. They match. So when you subtract, you get 0 remainder. So this is your final answer. Now let's do this one in synthetic division. Since this is a plus, I'm going to need a minus, the upside down house. So let's get our coefficients. I've got a 2 and a 10, negative 40, 61, and negative 24. Kind of scrunched over there, but we'll make it work. All right, drop your 2 down. 2 times 8 is negative 16, and we're going to add. 10 plus negative 16 is negative 6. Go again. Negative 6 times negative 8 is positive 48. And add, so that's going to give you 8. 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. And you're going to add, so that's going to give you negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. You're going to add and get 0. Okay? Now let's convert it. My highest exponent of my original was k to the 4th. So I'm going to make this 2k to the 3rd minus 6k squared plus 8k minus 3. And there is no remainder. And you can see answers match, but the work doesn't. Okay, number 9, here's our last one. So we look at this one, and I see I am missing a term on this one. So I'm going to have to insert a plus 0w squared. And I'll just put it down here. That'll make me remember to put it in. Okay? So here's my divisor. We're doing long division first. I've got w minus 4. And then I'm going to have w to the 4th minus 4w to the 3rd plus 0w squared minus 3w plus 13. Okay? So, what would I multiply w by to get w to the 4th? Just w to the 3rd. W to the 3rd times w to the 4th. W to the 3rd times minus 4 is minus 4w cubed. All right, now we're subtracting. This subtracts out, and this subtracts out. So what I have is 0w to the 3rd. And then I'm going to bring this down, and I'll have 0w squared. 0 is a number. All right, what would I multiply w by to get 0w to the 3rd? Well, that's going to be plus w to the 2nd, 0w to the 2nd. So 0w to the 2nd times w gets you 0w to the 3rd. 0w squared times negative 4 gets you 0w squared. Okay, so we are subtracting. This cancels, this cancels. So I've still got 0w squared just to hold your place. And then I'm going to bring down that minus 3w. All right, what would I multiply w by to get 0w squared? Well, that's going to be 0w. Because w times w is w squared. So now we've got 0w squared. And 0w times negative 4 is negative 0w. Okay. These two subtract out. Negative 3w minus 0 is negative 3w. Bring down that plus 13. Okay. So what would I multiply w by to get negative 3w? Well, that's going to be minus 3. Minus 3 times w is minus 3w. Minus 3 times minus 4 is 12. And we are subtracting. These two subtract out. 13 minus 12 is 1. So that's your remainder. So you're going to come up here and put plus 1 over W minus 4. Now because of all these zeros, we're going to leave them out, and I'm going to come down here and write the final answer because I need that for synthetic. So I'm going to have W to the third minus 3 plus 1 over W minus 4. So that's what your final answer looks like. Okay? Now for synthetic. Since this is already a minus, I'm just going to use the 4, the upside down house. Now, I've got coefficient of 1, negative 4. Okay, I've got that 0, then negative 3, and 13. Okay? Drop the 1 down. 1 times 4 is 4, and add. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0, and add. 0 times 4 is 0, and add. Negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12, and add. Boy, that was a lot easier. Now, W to the fourth was your highest exponent, so we're going to back it down 1, and this is your coefficient, so I have x to the third. Now, this would be my x to the second term. This would be my x term. I label them up here just so I can keep up with where I am. That means 3 is coming in as just your constant term, and then 1 is going to be your remainder over W minus 4. Okay? And you can see the two answers match, but there's a whole lot of work over here. Okay? And that's all for this section, so good job.